Hi, this is Britta Lafont from girlsgrowingwithgod.com, and we are doing lesson 3 of the Bible study by Elizabeth George, Putting on a Gentle and Quiet Spirit. And so we're going to begin, jump right in, and we're studying First Peter. So I'm going to read from the book, which is nice because it has the excerpt from the Bible from First Peter. It's First Peter 1:10 through 12. And now we have to remember that in our previous lesson, we talked about the outcome of our faith is the salvation of our souls. Okay, so of this salvation, the prophets have inquired and searched diligently, who prophesied of the grace that would come to you, searching what manner of time the Spirit of Christ who was in them was indicating when he testified beforehand the sufferings of Christ and the glories that would follow. To them it was revealed that not to themselves, but to us they were ministering the things which now have been reported to you through those who have preached the gospel to you by the Holy Spirit sent from heaven, things which angels desire to look into. And in this passage, Elizabeth George talks about how in this passage we're learning about the value, the deep, deep value of our salvation, that in ancient times, people were concerned with salvation, and that the prophets knew that they were looking ahead to our salvation, something beyond themselves. It makes me think of the Hebrews Hall of Fame when it talks about all of the people who were looking forward to playing a part in this salvation that they would never see, but that now we are the beneficiaries of, which is just a wonderful, wonderful realization. What I want to talk about a little bit is she makes the point that we really need to understand our salvation in light of this historical context. And we should value it, knowing that the angels are looking on, that not only are the people on earth concerned with it, but even the heavenly host is enthralled by this opportunity, this time, this place that God has given us in his plan. And so I want to read to you from another Bible study that I'm doing right now. It's a great Bible study. It is that's the one we're doing. It's called A Praying Life. And the author is Paul Miller. So just real briefly, I want to add this to your thinking about salvation. He says, the Father wants to draw us into the story of his Son. He doesn't have a better story to tell because it's the best one. So he keeps retelling the gospel in our lives. He says, whenever you love, this is what Paul Miller says, whenever you love, you reenact Jesus' death. Consequently, gospel stories always have suffering in them. And the point that he's making is that the biggest story ever told is the story that God would sacrifice his own Son for us, that Jesus would lay down his life for us, and that at the end of this we have suffering. At the end of Jesus' life we have suffering, but we also have redemption. And so he's saying, Paul Miller is saying, when we encounter suffering, we have the opportunity to experience a gospel story. We have the opportunity to lay down ourselves and interact with Jesus and the Holy Spirit and experience that redemption, as long as we are able to lay down ourselves, which is usually the most difficult part. But the thing that it makes me think of is in both First Corinthians chapter 6 and in chapter 7, Paul, the Apostle Paul, says for us not to forget that we were bought with a price. And I think that is the key to remembering the value of our salvation. At what cost did it come? And so the life of Jesus, the life of God's own Son laid down for us. This is a high price. And so we were bought with a price. And so how then should we live? I guess is the next thought. If God did this valuable thing, this important thing, if Jesus did this painful, difficult thing, this horrific experience, how then should we live? So, I'm going to close with another thing I'm going to read, which is from 2 Peter, which we won't be getting to in this study, but same guy. And he wants us to think about what is going to happen at the end of time. The day of the Lord will come like a thief, and then the heavens will pass away with a roar, and the heavenly bodies will be burned up and dissolved, and the earth and the works that are done on it will be exposed. Since all these things are thus to be dissolved, what sort of people ought you to be in lives of holiness and godliness, waiting for the hastening coming of the day of God? So I just want to encourage you to keep that eternal perspective. And when things might get you down, when suffering might come your way, or difficulties even enter your day or your mind, to keep in mind that you are bought at a price, to keep in mind the high value that God placed on our lives because he was willing to sacrifice his own son in order to redeem us and to make us new and to bring us into his salvation, into his family, into the fold. And that is really good news. So I just wanted to share that with you today, and I hope that you're enjoying this study, and I hope that you'll continue to join us. Thanks. Bye-bye.